going to show you how to cut and fill and crumb coat a cake. We are going to start by making sure we have all of our tools. So this step is called mise en place, which is a French term for everything in its place, or to gather all of your stuff. And it's really important that you have all of your tools and supplies ready to go, so you're not running all over the kitchen looking for things. So the tools we're going to be using today is our turntable. This makes frosting cakes much easier. And then we have our offset spatula and our bench scraper. And then we have what's called a crumb boat. At home you can use any Tupperware container or extra bowl. It's just important to not mix your crumb coat buttercream with your fresh buttercream because it's going to get kind of crummy, hence the name crumb coat. We've got a nice long serrated knife to cut our cakes, some scoops for our filling layers, and then our two cakes that we're going to be using, and our fillings that we're going to be using. So the first thing we're going to do is cut the tops off of our cakes. And with your cakes, it works best if you like bake them the night before and pop them in the freezer, and then you want to take them out a couple hours before you cut and fill them. Ideally, you want your cakes to be chilled. You don't want them frozen, and you don't want them too warm. This is going to help with the stability of your cakes. Right now I'm just cutting the top off, and then I'm going to cut the cake in half as evenly as possible. Even layers are going to make for the best consistency and stability in cutting your cake. So we have two cakes on this one, and each cake that we do, we bake two cakes for. Depending on how deep your pans are, if you're baking at home, we use 2-inch deep pans. And so each tier of cake is going to be 4 layers of cake with 3 layers of filling. And so, like I said, we're starting by cutting the tops off. And when you're cutting, you want to work with your turntable, not sawing all the way through one direction, but working circularly. And letting the knife kind of do the work. You don't want to force it through, otherwise your tiers are going to get a little uneven. Wrap up these tops. This is what we use to make our comfort cups, is the tops of the cakes. Those are super popular around here. And then the first thing you're going to do is get your board. Put a little bit of frosting down like it's going to be glue to help it stick. And then you're going to start by with one of the bottom or top, or the two bottoms need to be the bottom and the top of your cake so that it reduces crumbs and helps with stability. The next most important thing when cutting and filling is to make sure that each tier has a what we call a dam. This is to protect or to keep the filling inside of the cake so it doesn't ooze out the sides, because that's going to make for a really messy crumb coat. So the dam is really important. We are making a cookie dough cake today. So we've got our cookie dough frosting in this first layer. You want to spread it out as smoothly as you can, but not going outside of the dam. And then just place your next cake on top. Do another dam layer. And this middle filling layer is going to be our chocolate whip. Pile it on in there, and then we're going to smooth it out. It's good to clean your offset a bunch of times too. The more stuff you have on it, the more stuff you're going to spread all over the place. So just constantly wiping it and trying to keep it clean. Then you do your next layer. Another dam. Finish it off with some more cookie dough or whatever you're filling layer is going to be. I suggest if you're doing something that's like really soft or runny, like a jam or a curd, like a lemon curd or something, to make your dam a little bit thicker, just to give you a little extra wiggle room, because when it starts seeping out the sides, it's gonna get a little bit more difficult to try to patch up and fix. So when I put my top on, just make sure you leave one of the bottoms to be your top so that it's nice and smooth and it's gonna reduce crumbs. So we are ready to crumb coat. I have found some people like to put a bunch of frosting on top and just work their way down. I find that that method kind of hurts your wrists and it can make for a more unstable cake. So I prefer to do everything out of a pastry bag. And you're just going to lightly do rings of buttercream around your cake. You don't want too much on this layer because most of this is going to scrape off, because we're just doing a thin layer to kind of bring everything together. And I find that the best method is to just do up and down all the way around at first. Bring all these buttercream layers together. And you want to go above your top so that you can pull that in a little bit easier. Pull in the top frosting. And this layer doesn't have to look that pretty because everything's going to get covered up. This is just to secure your cake and get it ready for frosting with all your pretty decorations or covering it in fondant. So at this point, this is when I like to switch to the bench scraper. Gives you a nice straight line. It helps your cake from like going out at the bottom or going out at the top, and keeps things nice and smooth. And you want to frost as much where you can kind of just start seeing the cake through, kind of what a semi-naked cake would look like. If you're watching this and you're passionate about cakes, you probably know what semi-naked is. And you want to just keep frosting until it's nice and smooth. And then again, cleaning off your offset, cleaning off your bench scraper so you have a clean knife. And then you're just going to take that offset and level out the top, scraping it between each stroke. And then just clean up your board. And you are ready to put this in the fridge. I recommend chilling your crumb coat layer for at least 30 to 60 minutes before you do your final frost. If you're planning on covering it in fondant, you're gonna wanna do a second crumb, which is basically this last step repeated and smoothed out so where you can't see any of these cake layers anymore, so that when you cover it in fondant, it's not all lumpy bumpy underneath. Or if you're just gonna be putting a final frosting layer on it, once it's chilled to the touch, like when you touch it, it doesn't come back on your finger, then it's ready for that second crumb. And then the fridge is gonna be your friend for any final frosting as well. So if you plan on doing a drip or an inscription or painting anything on it, working with a nice chilled cake is definitely the best way to go. That's all I have for you today. Hope you guys learned something, and happy cake decorating.